DJ Dwight Stone. You know him from the Praise Mix Down. So tune in to see what he has to say.
3, 2, 1.
Sir. Good morning, sir. Yeah, how you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, we got to say again, it's a pleasure to talk to you, to get you on the line. We listen to you riding in the car with the radio crank on Saturday nights here.
Come on, turn up. Hey!
Spot in the Saturday night spot. You know, it's like, man, it's like Dwight the Stone. You know,
I've never heard that. You like it? I love it.
In the mix, you know, the praise is mixed down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Break it up.
So, yeah. So, hold up. I say the praise mixed down.
There it is. You got it. That's how I know. How I know. If you didn't break it up, I'd be like, you ain't never heard my show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Mr. Stone. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Pretty much how.
Yeah. Let's see. Long story short, I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, where the Raptors were the champions in 2019. Yes. Yeah.
Drake had to take the side seat.
Yeah. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada. You know, my American story started in, I think, about 1998. My parents thought I would get better opportunities if I moved to the States. And I went to an amazing school called Oakwood University. And that's really when I started, you know, DJing gospel, you know, for real. They had a skating rink on campus, and I was there, but I was moonlighting at the radio station right up the street, which was less than a mile away. And that station was WEUP. So probably about 2 years into going to school in the States, I got a job at the radio station, you know, and then I kind of moved my way up. And then I found out that they were launching a new radio station in Birmingham, Alabama called 95.7 Jams. And I was working full-time in Huntsville and working part-time in Birmingham, Alabama. And my boss found out about it. And he said, "You're going to have to make a decision, son." And I said, "Well, I guess I'm fired." and I started working part-time in Birmingham until a full-time position opened there. And then that's really where my radio career like really started to take off, just on the hip hop side. But I've always had a love for gospel music. And as time progressed, Birmingham turned into Montgomery, and then Montgomery turned into Birmingham, and then St. Louis. And then that's where the Praise Mixdown started. I met this awesome woman named Elise, who is my wife today. And I was currently in the clubs at the time. And she invited me to church. And I was like, who does that? Like, who comes to the club and invites you to church? But I was smitten by her. So I was just like, hey, I'll go. Nothing's going to change. And everything changed. I felt like every week when the pastor was talking, I felt like he was talking directly to me. And I just felt like I needed to do more with my gift. I didn't feel like my gift was just for the streets. We had to figure out a way to make it for the streets and the church. And that's why when you listen to the Praise Mixdown, it sounds like this is a very edgy gospel show. I'm like, yeah, because the people, most of my friends, and I say this unapologetically, they don't go to church. So this was the only way for me to reach them. And I said, okay, you know what? If I want them to listen to the music that I love and that I've been exposed to, I'm going to have to put some trap beats behind it, or I'm going to have to put some familiar instrumentals behind it so that the people in the streets would feel comfortable and say, I don't know who Mary Mary is, but You know what I mean? Or, well, maybe that's a bad example. Everybody knows who Mary Mary is, but I don't know who Norman Hutchins is. You know what I mean? But if I present it in the right way, maybe people will say, "Hey, this song is really cool, and the message is even cooler." So, you know, that's how we were able to bridge the gap between the streets and the church. I never had any idea that when we started this show that it would one day be syndicated, that it would one day be on plus 30 radio stations. But you know, we just were trying to do something. We were just trying to do something different. And now I don't know, plus 15 years later, you know, it's the #1 syndicated gospel mix show in the United States. And it's just an amazing, it's an amazing thing to see.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I have to ask because for me, when you said it speaks to people. We grew up in a church. You know what I'm saying? You know, in apostolic, water baptized, got Jesus on my side. I'm running for my life. You know, the church.
Right.
You know? And you know, I mean, we were in church. Actually, it was almost every week because every day of the week because you got Saturday, which is choir rehearsal too. You know, Monday night prayer.
Come on.
Tuesday night, Wednesday night Bible class, Thursday night young people night, Friday night.
Did you say young people night?
Yeah.
Come on with the young people night. Hey, young people night.
But when I listen to your show, I love music, you know, and hip hop. It don't matter to me like the genre because we grew up musicians, you know. That was a love of music, and so I need the edge, you know. That's why I like Kirk Franklin because I like to me it's real music. It's real music. What you want to is too people say it's too street, it's too hip hop. I like your show because to me, I'm like you didn't forget the music. To me, a lot of the gospel artists today forget the music. I mean, I love the message. You want to listen to like it, but you forgot the music. I mean, it's not a hit. It's and I know hits. I'm saying it's a hit in gospel, but it's not a hit. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear it.
Yeah.
I want to bob my head a little bit. I want to move. I want to feel it. You know what?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, the awesome thing about hip hop is right now it is the #1 music genre in the world. You know what I mean? Whenever you watch commercials, what do they use to sell everything? What do they use to sell the new phone, to sell the new shoes, to sell the new food? It's always hip hop. You know what I mean? You know that hip hop is the #1 genre when you see Cardi B in a Pepsi commercial.
Right.
That used to be Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? But it's Cardi B. So, you know, when you have a form of music that's the #1 form of music in the world, it's the one that communicates to people. It's the one that people connect with the fastest. Why would we keep that out of gospel? You know what I mean? I think it only makes sense to embrace it. And the one thing about gospel music that I think that we don't lean on enough is the fact that it's actually the best kept secret. Right. Gospel caters and offers more than any genre in the world.
Right.
Gospel has gospel jazz, gospel hip hop, gospel reggae, quartet, traditional, contemporary, CCM, CHH. I mean, you can go on for days. Afrobeat. I was listening to some amazing gospel Afrobeat the other day. Gospel soca, calypso. I mean, you know, and there's even Latin. All right, cool. Yeah. So, like I was saying before my Bluetooth died, we offer a lot. So, you know, I think when you offer a lot, we should probably be telling more people. You know what I mean? That everything that you're looking for, we have it. But the problem is that we only really like to promote one kind.
Right. I also say, plus we have the answer to what ails you,
a true answer.
Absolutely. It's you know,
it's not a feel good deal where you just after you listen to just 3 minutes you're gonna feel good, but it's over with. No, if you listen to the message and apply it, it can change your life.
You know, absolutely. Like I said, we're the best kept secret. We are the most solution-based music on the planet. And we're not promoted that way. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because most people, when they meet people that go to church, they feel the judgment, they feel the rules, they see outfits that they don't relate to. You know what I mean? That's why I always wear a baseball hat and a t-shirt. Why? Because most people have t-shirts and a lot of people have baseball hats. You know what I'm saying? But everybody doesn't have a suit. So, you know, if you present, you know, a lifestyle that requires a suit, requires shouting that I don't know how to do. I don't know how to do that dance. You know what I mean? You're gonna lose people because they're gonna be like, I don't move like that. I don't talk like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to say, how you doing? I'm blessed and highly favored. Excuse me? Just say you're doing good.
Right. It's okay. Right. It's okay.
It's okay. You don't have to make it difficult. Right. I'm doing great. You know what I'm saying? You don't want people to feel like you need to learn another language, you need to learn a new dance, and you need to get a new wardrobe.
Join another club.
You don't have to be a part of a club. This is not a frat or a sorority. This is Jesus Christ. He's available to everybody.
Tell me how you spoke on it lightly when you talked about the syndicated radio show Backup. And we know you were this DJ before. So how do we get to, because you talked like I came to Canada, from Canada, and this stuff. But how did you choose, like, I want to be a gospel DJ artist, and then somebody came to you and said, let's make it syndicated? Or, I mean,
no, it was, believe it or not, here's what happened. This is the weirdest story ever, but it's the truth. I used to listen to a gospel radio show on the way to the club. Every Friday. So I was DJing at a club every Friday, and I was working at a radio station. And this girl by the name of Ebony, you know, she's doing this show on Friday night. She said, I think my show needs something. Can you listen to my show and tell me what you think it needs? So I'm like, okay. So I listened to 1 week, and then I listened to another week, and I was like, I know what your show needs. And she was like, what's that? I said, it needs a mix. And she was like, I don't know how to mix. And I said, I do. I'll do it for you, and blah, 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 blah. So every week when I would go to the club, I'd be listening to her show because I wanted to hear how my mix sounded on her show. Little did I know that the music was ministering to me while I was on my way to the club. Now I'm DJing and hosting at the club, but I don't sound the way that I used to sound because I don't feel comfortable. So slowly but surely, I started quitting my clubs, and the club owners were getting mad, and they were coming up to the radio station. They wanted to speak to the owner, like, what's wrong with this guy? And then I started having to go to meetings on Mondays, you know, and I remember my boss telling me, I want the guy I hired. What happened to him? And I was like, I'm having a life change. And he was like, well, can't you have a life change and still rock the club? And I was like, I don't know if I can do both, you know, because what happens is usually in the beginning, conviction hits. You know what I'm saying? Before God actually says, no, Dwight, I can actually trust you in those situations. In that first stage, you just feel conviction. Like you just start hearing the music differently and everything just feels weird. So when I started doing the mixes for her, then I actually created another show, which was called, originally it was, I don't even want to tell you the original name of the show. It's embarrassing. But with the praise mix down, what'd you say?
You gotta tell it now. Come on.
Oh God, yeah, okay. So the original name of the show was Crunk for Christ. And I'll share it publicly because when I see people who remember it, when we first launched it, they're like, hey, you crunk for Christ. And I'm like, we ain't been crunk since 05, okay? And I'm so glad we got rid of that name because it was so dated. But at the time, you know, everybody was Crunk. Little John was on top and Crunk was the thing. And we were Crunk for Christ. So, you know, that's how we did that. But then eventually I was like, nah, that's not what we're doing. We're just praising God in the mix. So that's how we came up with the praise mix down. And it started in St. Louis, and then we got an affiliate in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then Little Rock, Arkansas came aboard, and then New Orleans came aboard, and it just seemed like Flint, Michigan, and then it just grew and grew. And then when I moved to Atlanta, then it was a wrap. It was, things really took off from there because I would say about 5 or 6 years ago, I was working at a hip hop radio station in Birmingham, and God was like, it's time for you to trust me. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And he was like, you're going to resign. And I was like, I've never resigned from anything. I've always been fired. So I had to go online and find a resignation letter. And I carried it around in my backpack for a year. And God was like, okay, now's the time. You need to give it to them. And I gave it to them. And I was like, I can't explain what's going on right now, but you know, God is saying that you're going to go into full-time ministry and you need to step away. And they accepted it and they allowed me to do it. And they actually gave me my roses on the way out. They were like, hey, listen, Dwight's stepping down from hip hop so he could do full-time ministry. He's moving to Atlanta and we want to wish him the best. And I was like, that never happens. You know what I mean? Most times they say, don't let the door hit you.
Yeah.
You know the rest. Yeah. So yeah, but I ended up moving to Atlanta, and I was really doing it to support, you know, my brother Willie Moore Jr. But when I got to Atlanta, they said, oh no, we already have a producer for his show. We want you to work with Darlene McCoy. And I was like, I've heard of her and I've heard her music, but I don't know her from a can of paint. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. And they were like, well, the job's already yours. And I was like, I don't get to apply for this job. They were like, no, it's yours. Okay. So I met Darlene McCoy for the first time at a concert. And I said to her, I said, you know, you must be pretty important to God for him to just pick up and move people from one place to another. And I don't even know you. And she said to me, that's just how he does. And that's how our friendship started. And I have been her executive producer ever since then. So God's done a lot. He's done a lot. And it's just a very interesting thing. But I can honestly say that if you learn how to trust him and you learn how to hear his voice and you know how to move, and you know how to move when he says move.
Yeah, to me, you're giving a lot of nuggets so far. I mean, in that short span, you're giving a lot of nuggets. I want to say, why are you capturing you and Willie Moore? How did that come?
Mm-hmm. So me and Willie Moore Jr. are like brothers from other mothers. You know what I mean? We had always known each other, but never really connected. When I was in St. Louis, he was in St. Louis at the same time. And at that time, he wasn't Willie Moore Jr. He was an artist by the name of Pretty Willie. And I was actually the program director at the radio station that hosted his show. So he would come to the radio station every Sunday. You know, he was a rapper, you know what I mean? Every time he came with 3 or 4 people. Like he had people with him. And I was just like, you know, coming from a Jamaican background, I was like, hold on, your name is what? You know, it's like Pretty Willie. All right, then cool. You know what I'm saying? But we never really, you know, talked or connected. But the interesting thing was, I really believe that God was working on him the same time that he was working on me. It was happening like simultaneously. So what happened was our roads just kind of met, because he saw that I was struggling to be who people wanted me to be, and he was struggling trying to be who people wanted him to be. And we kind of just noticed each other's struggle. And that's when the conversation started. Like, I heard you on the radio the other night. And I was like, for real? He was like, yeah, you were at the club, but you were saying, please drink responsibly during the live broadcast. Is everything okay? I was like, no, God's making this weird for me right now. And he was like, yeah, me too. You know what I mean? And we just kind of connected. We got on the road together. He created this thing called Young Flying Saved. And we started rocking these t-shirts, and we started, and believe it or not, this is an actual interesting story. We met Mike Todd before he became who he is today. We used to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma all the time, and go to Greenwood and work with Mike Todd. And it's just to see what God, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I was saying to people watching this, Pastor Mike Todd.
Yeah. We connected with Pastor Mike Todd, and he embraced us early. You know what I mean? Even when he really didn't know what we were going to become. So, this was the early makings of a lot of different things. And it just feels like, how when you look back, you're like, hey, I was a part of that freshman class. I was a part of that junior class. And it's like me and Willie were freshmen at the same time, and Mike Todd, and just to see how everybody has kind of blown up and did their thing. And I still remember the phone call, because they were looking for a host, before Willie got the Willie Moore Jr. show. I remember he called me and he was like, yo, there's this opportunity, Stone. And I was like, and he just kept on explaining it. And I was like, I haven't heard you say that you want it yet.
Right.
And he was like, what do you mean? I said, I hear you talking about it, but I haven't heard you say that you want it. And he was like, okay. I said, do you want it or not? He was like, I want it. I said, okay, it's yours. Walk in it. And he got the job, and the rest is history. Now everybody's saying flat out, and, and all this other kind of stuff. Well, actually, I said it too late. I said it too low. Flat out. I can't get up there. I can't. I tried it. Flat out. Yeah. But he's like, I'm so proud of him, just because I've seen his whole journey. But I don't think we're not the last people that God is going to do this type of thing for. You know what I mean? And I really believe that what's happening right now, and I think it's interesting that we're doing this interview, because I think people need to hear this. Willie Moore Jr., DMX, Dwight Stone, even, he's showing people that you don't have to be a perfect vessel to be used. You just have to be available. And that scares a lot of people, because a lot of people only want a message coming from a vessel that they respect. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it is. Now it's just about, no, I'm going to use these guys because they're available and they're transparent, and they're going to say it in a way that people receive it. And that's it. Because, anything Mike Todd posts nowadays, it goes viral.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he looks like them. You know what I'm saying? He got that swag, that energy, that, everything. So I just think that people need to be encouraged, because a lot of people think that they can't be used because you don't look like the people that God has used in the past. Nah, God is using, Macy's and the dollar store. You know what I mean? It don't matter. Any place in between. So
how did, speaking of journey, you were talking about the journey, how did you stay true to Because to me, it's like you like number one in your space, or reign supreme in your space. So, and I mean that in the sense of like we have to subdue our territory, and to me, you've consistently done it. How did you maintain that almost like path without being, derailed or distracted, or your other interests not taking over, the secular.
You know what? I believe it or not, I actually think that I got out of hip hop at the right time. When I look at the music that's coming out now and the content and how, like, the problem with hip hop is wherever the edge was, is like, okay, this was the 2005 edge. Now here's the 2009 edge. Now here's the 2012. And I was like, and I've watched the edge. Listen, it was, okay, let's just go ahead and date ourselves, everybody. But hip hop was edgy in 98 and 99. When NWA came out, I was like, good Lord. When Onyx, which was one of my favorite groups when I was, in high school, they had a song out called Throw Your Guns in the Air and Slam and all this kind of stuff. It was edgy then. And then I was like, okay, well, that's hip hop. Then 05 comes around and the South, because before that, it was just the East and the West. When the South got a foothold of hip hop, I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? But now, every next generation has to outdo what the last generation did. So at this point, I'm hearing stuff in songs and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have to be responsible for playing that. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I actually feel like I got out at the right time because now I just have to play the beats, but I have no desire to play the music. The beats are awesome. Right. The content is questionable. Now, don't get it twisted. There's still some great groups out there. I love what Bruno Mars is doing right now with the Silk Sonic. That's these boys are sounding like the Delphonics.
Yeah. He took it back, and then, but
he's crooning. I'm like, hey, you got to have a real microphone and drop with it and all that kind of stuff. But
dance moves.
Yeah. But there's some real trash out here. There's some real trash, and I think that this is a great opportunity for us to say, hey, listen, what if I could offer you the same turn up, without the terrible messages? And I'm actually excited right now about being what a lot of comics don't want to be. I interview a lot of comedians and they never want the label of a clean comic. I don't mind having the label of a clean DJ. It's easier. You know what I mean? I got a Twitch page. I invite everyone to follow me on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/DJ Dwight Stone. And when I tell you, I DJ 3 times a week and I play a lot of music, but I only play clean versions. You know what I mean? And I don't care what other DJs think of me and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, oh no, it's more important that I uphold the image that I believe God has for me than the image that you want me to have. And if you enjoy playing music with cussing in it, I'm not your DJ. But if you just like, and it's different because when you decide to be a clean DJ, it's hard because there's so many songs you can't play. So when people are like, hey, can you DJ my kid's 16th birthday party? I'm like, what type of kid you got?
You didn't say what kind of music you listen to.
What type of kids you got? I mean, for real, because I listen. There are different kids out here. There's some kids that listen to, Wande and Lecrae and Tadashi, and then there's other kids that listen to Lil Baby, Dub Baby, and other stuff that I just may not have clean versions of. So, depending on, what type of teenager you have, I could accommodate, or I could suggest some great DJs that can do the ratchet that you desire. But it's just not me. It's just not me.
You play R&B or hip hop, but just the clean versions of it.
I only play uplifting music. I will play, I listen, one of my favorite songs to this day, and we play it every time I'm on Twitch a lot. This song gets played more than anything else I probably play on Twitch, and that's Lovely Day by Bill Withers, right?
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Lovely Day is the jam. You know what I'm saying? And it's just because it just connects. So shout outs to people like D Nice, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like D Nice made old school cool again, you know what I mean? In a very, very cool way. But I just feel like we're living in the best time ever, because we live in a time right now where you don't have to compromise, because even if you don't connect with people in your current circle, you can connect with people outside of your circle. We have, on my Twitch page, we have people that have checked in from England, from Germany, from Holland, from all type, the Dominican Republic, the West Indies, all over the world. So what happened is the pandemic actually made the world smaller. So if you have a desire to connect with people like you, all you gotta do is make yourself available.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So what message would you have? Did the pandemic give you a message, or did you already have one that you wanted to convey before that?
Pandemic was hard, but I believe a lot of people are looking at the pandemic the wrong way. We did lose a lot of people. A lot of people got sick. A lot of people who had pre-existing health conditions that thought that those pre-existing health conditions weren't going to come back to haunt them. No, I think the message, I personally believe that the message that God was trying to send us with the pandemic is, I'm going to shut everything down so that you can work on you. I'm going to shut everything down so you can work on you. Because I believe before the pandemic, everything was somebody else's problem. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, my life is not going the way that it's supposed to be. It's this person's problem. The pandemic puts you in a house by yourself. If you don't know how to clean your house, that's you. That's on you. You had plenty of opportunities to do it. If you got laid off your job and you wanted to take your life in a different direction, the pandemic gave you the opportunity to do it. You know, it was one of the number one thing that people did during the pandemic. People who were afraid of getting braces got braces. Everybody was like, man, I don't like my teeth. They jacked up. Not anymore. Why? Because the pandemic gave you a chance to be by yourself and work on it. Some people who had bad bodies before the pandemic, they got a different body now. You know what I'm saying? They got on a weight loss plan, or they did something, or they got on keto, or whatever the case may be. But I think God really wanted people to reevaluate their value. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to tell you one thing that we know now. A lot of people who didn't know what they were worth before, they know what they're worth now. I guarantee you. You know what I'm saying? Unless you avoided the mirror. You know what I'm saying? But if you spent some time in it, you know. A lot of people who didn't know what they brought to the table, they know what they bring to the table now. They broke up with their jobs. They're like, I don't need to take this. I don't need you. Why? Because for 9 months, I wasn't getting money from you anyway. It's a very dangerous place for certain people to be, especially some people don't like people to be independent. Some people want people to feel like, if you don't give it to me, I won't get it. But I think the pandemic changed all of that. People are like, no, if I'm going to get it, I'm going to let you into my own personal space. One of the things that my family did during the pandemic was we started a garden. And the reason we started a garden was because we were like, We don't need to be at the grocery store all the time. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to do this. We don't need to do that. So guess what happened? We started growing our own vegetables. My neighbor was giving us cucumbers and we were giving them collard greens because don't laugh. I see. Listen, when I tell, hey, bro, if you need some collard greens, I got collard greens, brother. We just got, we're the collard green overflow over here. We figured it out. You know what I'm saying? So it's, you know, when that type of stuff is going on, when the world opens back up, you think we're going to buy collard greens again? Never. I figured out how to grow them myself. Let me tell you something. And this is weird because I'm a DJ, but I'm talking about collard greens. Like, this is the interview. Our collard green game is so lit. Our collard green game is so lit over here. We were growing collard greens in the winter.
Ooh, yeah.
In the winter greens. Come on, somebody. Did you get it? Did you get it? I said winter green. Winter green. Hey, glory to God. That was dumb. All right. So anyway, back to the interview.
No, I was thinking when you were saying that about the ability to change and grow within yourself. You know, that God afforded everybody the opportunity during the pandemic. Also, I think he gave everything that was like had the ability to be praised, like sports athletes, arenas, anything that had
Ooh.
ability to be praised. I mean,
You want to go there?
You know, consistently praised was torn down. I mean, literally,
Absolutely.
you couldn't do it. You couldn't put no praise higher than him. I mean, it was like, and it was like systematic, and it was like not just, you know, here. If I like football, I'm saying pick something. You can pick anything. You say, well, artists, television artists, movies. You name anything that could supersede me in glory, and it was torn down. I mean, it was like,
Absolutely. We call that the 7 mountains of influence. 7 mountains of influence were toppled during the pandemic. I know because, I don't want to do this to them, but it's the truth. Before the pandemic, I was a huge fan of the WWE. Used to watch it every Monday, every Friday. I just, you know, it was just something I did. But during the pandemic, you know, wrestling's not the same without a crowd, right? So even though they replaced the crowd with the TVs and all that kind of stuff, it took them a while before they even got to that. But the problem is, I think that the world was very nervous about people breaking up their routine. Because once your routine is broken, it can be replaced with something else. Then if it's replaced with something else, if it's reintroduced, you may not even have a palate for it anymore. So now you're like, you know what I mean? And that's why for a lot of people, and I'm not going to call out any sports, you know, leagues or anything like that, but a lot of people, because they weren't able to enjoy it the way that they used to see it, they got disconnected from the sport. And if that disconnect happens for too long, it could go away. So, you know, people have had the opportunity to connect with different things. And that's why it's been a great time for DJs, because a lot of people are like, man, DJs are actually giving us new content all the time, new music, and I never really know what they're going to play. We control the content with, you know, in the mix. All I got to do is just keep it different and you'll be like, okay, cool, I'll be back. So now DJs are as popular as Netflix and Hulu and everything else because we offer the one thing that people want right now, which is music that was created before all this other stuff started happening. And music actually is an escape.
Right.
You know what I mean? It can take you away. So a lot of people are excited about that.
What do you have new on the horizon?
Really just my Twitch page. I'm really, really excited about my Twitch page, mainly for the reason that it's worldwide. You know what I mean? And I believe that right now it's so important for people. Like, I honestly feel like my Twitch page is my church, because if you ever visit my Twitch page when I go live on Sundays and Tuesdays and Thursdays, the first thing that you'll notice that's different is everybody in the chat speaks to each other. So even if you're in there for the first time, they're going to be like, Alden, hey, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, hey, we got Alden in the chat for the first time. And then they'll show you all this love, and then they'll drop all these heart emojis, and you'll be like, whoa, my own family doesn't treat me like this. And it's just like, because I don't have a better example, it's like Cheers. You know, it's the place where everybody knows your name. And when Norm comes in, you know what everybody says? Norm! And that's what I love about my Twitch page. You know, from I can name these people. Like, I've never met these people in my life, but I can name the people that are my Twitch family because I see them all the time, from Sherelle to Sight Giver to Key Nicole to Tori to Stacy Blessed to Truck Driver. And these people, I don't even know their real names. These are all just online names. You know what I'm saying? Mama Chico and all. It's crazy, but it's the new norm. The new norm is, if you don't like the friends you have, you don't like the family you have, you can get another one. You know what I'm saying? You can find your vibe, you can find your tribe, and you can just love on these people and they'll love on you. And the great thing about it is we no longer have to settle. In Jamaica, we have a thing like, yo, we don't like bad mind people. And I don't have to deal with bad mind people no more. And that's bad mind people, not Batman people. Somebody said Batman people one time in the chat. I was like, no, it's bad mind. But praise God.
Okay. Is that a part of the message that you send when you're telling your story through song, through DJ? Is that the message you want to send?
Yeah, I mean, it's
because to me, you do with the praise mix down. It's typically centered around something, a theme like you had the Nelson brothers on there. I like them because one has forever is a long time. That's how much I love you.
Yeah.
I just picked him. It could be any artist. You know, you have several, so it could be any artist. But I'm saying it's usually themed. So I thought perhaps you had a message that you was trying to say.
Sometimes, I mean, I always try to keep people optimistic, because it doesn't matter what happens in your life. It doesn't have to be the end. It could always be the beginning of something else. You know, for a lot of people, they only knew me as a hip hop DJ, you know what I mean? And then I developed into something else. And now people, you know, say, oh, well, he's the #1 gospel DJ. I'm like, well, I'm glad you think so. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm not the only one that does this, but I am somebody who takes what I do seriously, because I know the responsibility of it. You know, my mixes don't just play on the Praise Mixdown. They play on the Willie Moore Jr. show. They play on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show. You know what I mean? So I have a responsibility to find the best gospel and you know, make it available to people, because they need it. I know they need it. You know what I mean? So I just think that that's my takeaway. I think when you when God trusts you to do something, and he usually only gives you something that you care about as much as he does. Let me say it to you this way. He usually picks a person that has his heart in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like in the Bible, when God chose Paul, people were like, why would you choose Paul? He's out here murdering Christians. He's like, he's murdering Christians now, but he has the passion that I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times people just think, oh, you just want the person that has the profile and has the look and the PR and all that kind of stuff. He's like, nah, I'm looking for a person who has my heart on this issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
So once you realize that it's a heart issue and it's not a look. It's not like there's a lot of people who have the look but don't have the heart.
actually almost what you said again, because that's something to bite on. You know, that's something to like mull over and let it sink in, resonate with you. You know, because then it has you searching. So what is my heart? What's my heart posture?
Yeah, what's your heart? Like I literally, you know, I grew up, you know, listening to groups like Commission and the Winans. So, but wait a second, I was listening to them when my parents had Andre Crouch albums. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those situations where I was like, I realized, and it was so cool when I heard Fred Hammond say this, that when the first Commission album came out, they decided not to wear suits. Right. You remember that first Commission album? They didn't have suits on because they were like, nah, let's do this different. Let's do a casual approach. We're going to be a different type of group. So we might as well let everybody know that we're going to be different. So let's not try to be the same. And I thought about it and I was like, you're right. Gospel artists usually wore suits on their album covers, especially back then. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those situations where, you know, if you got the right heart and you're different, don't try to be the same just so you can be accepted. You got the right heart. God is going to anoint you to do what you're going to do. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't like when I tell you I do not try, I will show up to the Stellars like this. And we got one. We got one. We got one. So no, we didn't have to do it the way everybody was doing it. And God still blessed it. You know what I mean? And he's continuing to bless it. So, you know, if when you ask me, do I have a message for anybody today? Just like, hey, listen, be a person of integrity, be a person of consistency. Let your public and your private life be the same. You know what I'm saying? And be a vessel that God can trust. And that's it. And he will give you opportunities and he'll get in front of you and behind you. God's the only person who can do that. You know what I'm saying? Most people will be either be in front of you or behind you, but God could be both. He's like, yo, I'm going to clear the way and I'm going to push you. Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about life after this pandemic. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. You know, even with what you guys are doing, this is awesome. I'm glad that you have created a platform for people to speak their truth, because a lot of people are believing a lie. A lot of people, you know what, believe it or not, people don't actually get a chance to talk to people like me. I'm busy. I'm not available. You know what I mean? So when you guys called and said, hey, you want to do an interview? I was like, yeah, because I never really get a chance to talk to people. When I get off the phone with you, I literally have 10 to 15 things to do before the end of the day. So, you know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Listen, that's why this interview was so hard to book. Remember, we were like, hey, what times can we do? I don't know. You know. So yeah, no, I'm about to get on these turntables over here and do a bunch of different things. But I just want to, any chance I get to encourage people, I want to make sure that I do it, because we don't know how much time we have.
Speaking of which, for those that are watching, anybody that's watching this that's heavy laden or not saved, what is the
heavy laden or not saved? Wow, best questions for the last, right? Wow, to that person, I want to say, don't believe the lies. Don't believe the devil's lies over God's truth. God's truth is in Jeremiah 29:11. It's my favorite verse in the Bible. It says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, to give you a hope and a future. That's 3 promises in one verse. You know what I'm saying? You can trust the director of this movie. He's an award-winning director. He's an Oscar-winning director. He is the Alpha and Omega. And if you just believe that he has a good plan for your life, then guess what? It will automatically start to change your life. But you got to believe that first. You got to, but like, there's a lot of people who just like, I just think that God forgot about me. Okay, well, if you feel that way, that's going to block anything that he's trying to do in your life. Because God can't override your feelings. He can't. So it's one of those situations where don't let your free will work against you. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that you're like, hey, listen, even on my worst days, I know things can get better. Even while racism continues to plague the United States, I know things can get better. Let me tell you something. I had to purposely unfollow a lot of negative social media pages because I knew that, it was getting on the inside of me. So to the person who might be struggling to believe that God has a great plan for your life, I'm here to let you know I'm an example of what he can do. But you got to give him that control and you got to give him permission to do it. And that's why getting saved is so important, because it gives God permission, you know what I'm saying, to take you, not just to secure your soul's location, you know what I'm saying, in the future, but it also gives the Holy Spirit the opportunity to talk to you when nobody else is telling you anything that you need to hear. That Holy Ghost, that's a game changer, and you need that. So, I pray that you will learn your need for him. And I pray that the Praise Mixdown can be a soundtrack for you while you're in that journey, because I've been there. I know it was, when I literally had to rededicate my life, you know what I'm saying, to the Lord, because I was just, I don't know. I didn't think I needed it. I didn't think I needed what I'm doing today. But now when I look back, I'm like, wow, I can only imagine how my life could have spiraled out of control. You know what I mean? If I didn't realize that I needed something more consistent. And that's God. So I hope I answered your question. I know I went a lot of places.
No, you answered the question. So how can people find the Praise Mixdown or find you again? You mentioned Twitch.
You got to see if it's available in your city. You can go to pmdradio.com. It will list all the places that the show plays. I think we're in about 40 markets now. But if you have a praise station in your city, what I suggest you do is, if they're not playing the Praise Mixdown, go old school and call them and say, I need you to carry this Praise Mixdown show. And then my team will get on them and say, yes, we do want to be in New York City, or different places. But no, we play a lot. We play in I can't list all the cities right now, but we play in a lot of places. But you can follow me on IG at Dwight Stone. And most importantly, you can follow me on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/DJ Dwight Stone. And you will have the best time in your life. I'm going to be looking for you too. I'm going to be looking for y'all the next time I go live. I'm going to be live on, I don't know when this is going to play, so I'm not going to say a specific date. But Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, we go live and we have the best time ever. And, it is what it is.
Awesome. We certainly thank you for your time. We thank you for what you're doing in your ministry.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, because this really is a pleasure, man. It's like I'm for real. We like jam.
No. Listen, when I got the DM, I know after a while you were probably thinking, yo, this dude is not for real, but you were DMing me and I was like, yo, I want to do it. I just got to figure out how to do it. And then all this stuff happened with DMX. And I had to take a break because I'm going to give you the DMX story and I'm done, because it actually is a very, very important part of the story. I met my wife at a DMX book signing. So if that event didn't happen, I wouldn't have met her. If I didn't meet her, I wouldn't have went back to church. If I didn't go back to church, there is no praise mixdown. So I associate the loss of DMX with more than just losing a hip hop legend. He's the reason I met my wife. And he was dope enough to sign the books. So when his autobiography came out, he actually signed it and said, when God blessed me, he blessed you. And it's man, that brother right there, game changer. Till this day, we've never heard nobody pray like him. We've never heard, a person struggle. We've never seen a person struggle and be anointed, the way that we did with DMX, man. So I will always just have, love for him, and I pray that God continues to bless his family and his fans, because we're hurting. We're still hurting. So, but to salute to him, because he changed my life. He did.
Thank you for sharing the story.
No problem. I didn't know if you didn't know it or not, but yeah, that's why I couldn't do it.
Yeah. But we thank you for joining us, and we will tune in to Twitch and catch some of that also.
Yeah, you better. I'm gonna be looking for you. I'm gonna be like, oh no, y'all said y'all were coming through.
Yeah, I've watched it, but not the live show. I've watched it.
Yeah, the live show is different. The live experience is different. And then if you watch the replay, they mute out a bunch of things. And to everybody who's watching me on Twitch through Facebook, you are watching the movie through the fence. You need to join Twitch. It's a free, you can get a free account. You can join. You don't have to pay anything, but you can participate properly.
And it's Twitch. Say it again.
It's twitch.tv/DJ Dwight Stone.
Okay, awesome. And if PMD is not played in their market.
Yeah, and if the PMD is not getting played in your market, call your local radio station that plays gospel and say you need to get a show called the Praise Mixdown. I'm challenging and charging everybody to do it. It is the hottest weekend gospel mix show on the planet, and I'm not saying it because I make it. I'm saying it because y'all invited me to be on this interview.
And it is. It's hot. It's I challenge all of those Christians or on the fence Christians, or those that have any interest in gospel music. You want to listen to this show. This show is awesome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's quite uplifting. It gives that edge that he's talking about, but it also speaks to your soul, to your heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, young people, my sons are young.
Your son likes it? How old is your son?
I have two sons that introduced me to it. They're 27 and 20.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Pause. Time out. Your sons introduced you to the Praise Mixdown?
Yes.
That's it. My job is done. They introduced you to it. That is so cool.
Yes, they're really active in the church, and
that is so dope. I'm gonna have to come out there. So what city are you guys in?
In Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson. Oh, come on. You know what? The show plays twice out there. It plays on Friday and Saturday night. Come on, Jackson. There it is. Yeah, no, that I love that. I love that market. That is so crazy. Y'all got Deion Sanders out there coaching football.
Yeah.
Are y'all winning yet?
We are winning. I think they were. I think they're 4-1. I think they on that.
Come on, 4-1. That's better than 1-4.
Oh, it's 3-3. Oh, it's over now. It's 3-3. Ended up 3-3.
Okay, cool. Bet.
But that it was pretty impressive. The win. It was a change of atmosphere, so I can't wait to see.
No. I already know. He's focused. I mean, he has a lot of options. For him to decide to coach was a huge decision on his part.
Yeah, it was a big deal for this city. We're looking forward to that interview, by the way. Yeah.
There it is. Well, hey, listen, if you guys ever need me on the show again, I'll come back. I don't really have a whole lot of new things to talk about, but maybe I will when you reach back out to me.
That's what's up. Much love and continued success.
Thank you. I received that.
Well, you have a great day. And thanks again.
All right, you too. All right, no problem.
Thanks for following us. You can find us on Facebook at Good Twin, Bad Twin Unleashed, and also on Instagram at Good Twin, Bad Twin Unleashed. Now don't forget to watch our YouTube page and make sure you like and share our videos. Also go to our Facebook page, check out our t-shirt line. We have several wonderful t-shirts there that helps us to continue to provide good footage for you. Thank you.